Sanibonani, welcome to Daily Thetha Kabalamo Kini Shandu and namhlanje sikhuluma ngodaba olubalekile, the poverty mentality. That's what we're talking about. Abantu abaningi makhuluma ngepoverty bebe nezathu ezahlukene abakutshela ukuthi qhamuka munye uthi dalwa indawo lapho usuke uzalelwe kuyona, abantu ohlala nabo, abantu okhuluma nabo, o abantu obukela kubona as well. Omunye azashi nokuthi ilokishi ohlala kulona indlela elakhiwe ngayo, ungaboni izinto ezingaku-inspirisha kungakwenza ukuthi nawe ugcine usune mentality of poverty. But funa ukwazi kuwena ukuthi ngobona wakhe ekhaya ucabanga ukuthi ipoverty isimo somqondo womuntu o indawo le asuke kuyona idalwa yini kanjani, or even inkolo ethiza as well. Mhlawumbe inkolo yakho ucabanga ukuthi ingezinye izinto ezicindezelayo ekuthenini ube sesimene esisona njengamanje. Poverty mentality, that's what we're talking about on Daily Thetha.
Dumelangra amagela mo go Daily Thetha nakalebitso ke na Nicolette wa ga Mashile ngwana wa kwa Bush Patrick Mapulaneng e toloka nga matsogo yena ke sesi fortune wa ga Madlala. Kini se ublabile already re ba re lebela taba ya poverty mentality. Re nyoko tšiba gore na if you do have that poverty mentality, where does it come from? Did it come from because of colonialism? Did it ka taba la apartheid? Is it a structural thing, or is it something that we need to get out of? We know that it is almost 24 years since democracy. Re thoma neng gore re dig out of this world that we are in, out of this deepness that we're in, and get to ourselves to a point where we're saying, you know what, I don't have to be poor. I am not a product of my circumstances.
Fona leka says utumbona kutina patuta namhlanje it's 0113391315, and also if you are on Twitter na ku Facebook na ku Instagram nazo zonke inkundla zokuxhumana ongase uzicabange sikhona nathi as Daily Thetha. The hashtag is very simple, #Daily Thetha. Otherwise, welcome to Daily Thetha nonke khona lakhaya. Asiqaleni ohlangothini lakho Nicolette, we want to find out exactly ukuthi abantu abaningi bayibona kanjani that poverty mentality.
What's your understanding of poverty mentality?
Hi, and my understanding of a poverty mentality is that poverty mentality is a system.
Okay.
A poverty mentality is a system that was created to put us as black people. I'll speak of black people because I am black.
Yeah.
At a disadvantage.
Okay.
And to keep us thinking a certain way.
What think this way that we think as black people?
That we lack resources, and somehow that we are not enough, and that we are limited to a certain amount of things, or to a certain way of living.
Okay.
And more than that is just far out of our reach. But it's something that can be unlearned and overcome.
All right, that's I think that's encouraging, Kini. The fact that she's saying it's something that we can learn, unlearn as a matter of fact, and actually overcome. We don't have to get stuck in this mentality. We are poor, we are lacking, we don't have certain resources.
But umuntu akachaza ngenye indlela Nicolette ethi ukuthi kunabantu abamnyama sebekwamukele ukuthi bona vele ukuhlupheka kuyi-part of impilo yami ukuhlupheka, so much that abanye baze bathi even abafundisi kwesinye isikhathi abasuke beshumayela emasontweni baze bakutshela ukuthi kulungile ungahlupheka la emhlabeni, but kwelizayo ila uyobusa khona. Pamela, do you think ukuthi inkolo iyayidlala i-role in making abanye abantu becabanga ukuthi ukuhlupheka it's okay?
Inkinga njengoba usho Kini ukuthi nendlela esishunyezwa ngayo emasontweni ukuthi ungahlupheka la kodwa khona elizayo lapha impilo izoba ngcono khona. Leyo nto on its own nje vele yenza ukuthi we accept ukuthi no, that it is normal, it's okay, it's acceptable. Kufanele ukuthi sihlupheke emhlabeni because uma siba rich la emhlabeni, if we are better here then shukuthi asisa qualify for ukuthi singene kwelizayo. I-example engayenza ukuthi as blacks especially siyayihlale phansi sithi ayi uyabona abelungu sebebusile la emhlabeni banayo yonke into sebesezulwini vele, so ngeke balibona izulu kabili thina liyeza izulu lapho esizobe sesi rich khona.
So umnotho wethu sizobona sesidlulile emhlabeni. I don't know ukuthi bangakanani abantu abacabanga lokho. Hit us up on Twitter na Facebook as well. Siza ukuthi ucabangani ngomunye wabantu abathi it's okay ukuhlupheka njengamanje emhlabeni ngoba umbuso ozayo ila uyobusa khona.
Can you know sometimes this thing we'll talk about, they're not nice people, or I get cheese boy, or so we've got this thing of it feels sometimes as if we are anti-rich people. We don't like rich people. I don't know, maybe if maybe it's a sentiment that you also can share, or if you think differently.
Yeah, look to kahle Nicolette. Look bulati makata kuri kuna ban mangwan look ba umela butongwini ba chaba kutu umelerisa like you cannot even post or this is what I've achieved, this is what. Yes, that happened because the community sometimes babula kuri no se utiendla ngono so utiendla naleka batakuzela kuri shtimache mntana ngathi siwenza kakhulu. But of which look yalang tisat makata poverty in general ibe the comparana being rich. Being rich it's not that thing that you should be focused on in my mentality, not like I have poverty mentality, but the thing is we need to find a way, Yakuri, how can we create wealth? You understand? Because with wealth now, we are able to pass it from generation to generation.
But Gerald, let's be frank now. Or Rebatu, they must think of creating wealth. People are stuck in the poverty mentality. They don't even think that they can make it through this month. Now you want them to create wealth.
And there's this thing we call it the world view.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So look, we learned that magata world view. It magata when how do you view your world?
Yes.
Because now you might be a millionaire and still feel poor,
yes,
while I'm a thousandaire and still feel rich.
Yes.
You understand? So, but you need to create a system. Hence, there's a system linga creative guri. Africa,
yeah.
So we need to find a system laying creator first guri. How can you do that to your family? Understand? How, like Banbakale, they didn't have money.
Yeah.
But they had cows.
Yes, they had
cows.
wealth.
That was their wealth. And with that, they would pass it to generation and generation.
Yes. All right.
Listen, Black Socials.
All right. Kini, it's very interesting what Gerald is saying, because another side of it is that we've got this thing as Runeba Taban, if you are humble, it makes you a better person. So if you don't talk about your money, you're a good person. But most of us know, there's a very big difference between the wealthy and the poor.
You know, Gerald, abantu banalokhu ukuthi ekugcineni if mhlambe awuhluphekanga, there's something wrong with you, to a point where sometimes we feel as if we downplay success yethu or abazali bakho ukuthi bangihambisa to good school, banginikeza a better life. It seems as if we glorified poverty so much that we think it's okay to be poor, or it's actually a nice thing. Deborah, what do you think about that? Do you think isikhathi whereby sisaba ukukhuluma about ama achievements wethu, we would rather talk about ama struggles because we feel like we're fitting in to abanye abantu when you do that?
Yes, it does get to that point, because sometimes you get privileged kids who have to lie about their background and how they grew up in order to fit in. Because if you've never suffered or went through suffering, if I could say, or poverty, you're not black enough according to society. So that pressures privileged kids like myself, if I may mention, to lie about how we grew up. Because now it's difficult for me to tell someone I've never been in Alex, because I feel like I'll be judged for that. It's difficult to tell someone that you've never went to bed hungry because you've never experienced that.
Why are you lying? Are you lying because you want to fit in, or are you lying because you think to take advantage of the fact that we're usuga emndenini ongcono?
I think people take advantage and they tend to look down on you. Success is not celebrated amongst us Africans. And I feel like that's one thing that we should look at. We don't celebrate each other's success. But when umuntu aphuwa, but then when you get there, why can't we do the same? And like so figil.
You mentioned something enkulu la ukuthi success is not celebrated ekakhulukazi kuthina abantu abamnyama. And ngiyakubona siswami unyaka usikhanda uyavumelana naye and ubanika
igama lami ndingu-Asiphe, ndiyabulisa kubo bonke abantu. Singabantu abamnyama siyacinezelana phansi. Kunzima kwezinsuku uzichaza izinto sozi-achivile because abantu bazocinga bafana uzenza bhetere. Iyangena lento kwi-families. You can't even tell your aunt izinto sozi-achivile because at the end of the day, she's not gonna call your mom or uzaba nengxaki nomama akho ngenxa yezinto esezi-achivekile. So indaba yokuthi sifuna uzifihla because we want to fit in and ufundile ngoku uzenza bhetere. So isuka yonke lento engqondweni.
So sometimes omunye umuntu engasho nokuthi ungazi usaba ukutshela abantu about ama achievements wakho because kunale nkolect nabantu abamnyama siyaloyana as well. Do you believe in that uthi mangabatshela ukuthi ngiphekwane bazongiloya nje straight?
Okay, mna personally andibelieve kuyo loo nto leyo. Andiloyeki mna. Even if ndinga-achieve ntoni andizumisa kuba ndizothakatheka okanye ndizothini. Forward I go whether kwenzeka ntoni.
Okay, sizohamba sebreakini njengamanje and into sobe sibheka masibuya as well. Sikhuluma about this poverty mentality. I was saying with the bill proposed about the minimum wage. It was shocking to say izinto engane about it because if you look at abantu abasizayo endlini it's 15 rand per hour and ama-farm workers 18 rand kuzothi nje abanye abantu even abasebenza emine 20 rand per hour. Ungaphila kanjani ngo-20 rand per hour? Kumele ugibele, kumele wondle umndeni, kumele ufundise iy'ngane, kumele uzicabangele now as well. We're talking about poverty mentality. Masibuya la ebreakini.
Daily Thetha family, welcome to yet another edition of the beautiful show that is Daily Thetha. Each and every day, we are always pushing ourselves to do something different as a show. So today we came out all the way to the northwest to come talk to the young people, to find out the issues about the face and crime, teenage pregnancy, but there are so many issues that young people are facing. And as Daily Thetha, we are always willing to engage young people, to give them the platform to talk about these issues that they are facing on a regular basis and to also develop solutions. Njeriwanga yona mo Daily Thetha today ke re batla understand especially the community tsa rona jalo ka batho ba batho rona poverty e cause-wa ke di choices tse re di etsang kapa ke di circumstances tse re sa kgoneng go di control.
A gora motho wa ka choosang gore a sokole. It means situation tse di leng teng ke tsona di etsang gore poverty be teng.
Bana ba rena ba phasitse dikolo ga gone mebereko ba ka mo le ka mo ebile ba bona gore ba notlela gana mo strateng. Ngwana o a phasa ga a fetse o phasa o tlo robala go di ma certificate ka baka la gore mmereko ga go.
Bo bruru ba rena ba robala distrate ba pusha ditroli because ba thoka mereko gore ba ke phedish.
If the government telling and then or all the structures some government then from local to national ba deliver, I think or everything to ba sharp.
O le motho brayaga o ka se tlohelle fela cause hona le dilo tse dintsi tse le horeng di ka o thusa o ka ira recycling wa topa bo digupu body tini dilo tse di so how di sa go scrap di khono fa chelete wa bona brayaga.
So di pompa di le so ba thra di roba and then o ka ra ka mo family e ba robileng ka mo teng ba le unemployed.
O ka re ka hika ka se haola di tshola di opportunities tsa hore le thuta le tswele pele so that le khona tsa bophelong ba poverty.
Ai nna mo ka senyaga ho bua nnete a re dikredi tse bjalo barawa ka bona.
What we need is not just the paper or whatever. Yes, that we're going to go through it, but we need the practicals. So our government, we can say to it, give us the practical, and that's where we are going to survive in this world. You can see from the people who are coming from outside, the Chinas or whatever, they come and they use their skills because of they have learned from their own roots.
At what point did you decide, right, a ke sebeletse le go ke batla o ispanelan?
Nantse ke bereka bona ebe feme ya tswala and nna kwela ke bereka he ke chaisa na ke bereka ona mmereko he ke tla mmereko ke tlo bereka so feme he tswala ka tswela pele ka re e re ke no e berekela.
Bophelo bo phelang no bo affectile jwang mo moyeng o tsaka?
No bophelo bo ke bo phelang no e bong affectile thata brawam cause ke santse ke le motsha ke nno ke be ke na le dio tse di pila ke bontsha ba tlang ko moraga go no like mo motseng hona le batho ba ileng gore ba re emetse cause ke nna ke be ke phuta ba bang ba o tshwana le nna ke ba isa dijopong tsa o farologana cause ke ba ruta ka ga business e itseng so ish ke ntwe e nkutsa botlhoko thata mo e le re a rena di opportunities re le bana ba mo motseng but hona le leadership e leng teng e re leadang thata ke yona ntwe re affectang ya leadership cause a ena na kwa rene e tsamaela distance le rena ba gone o itse mathata re.
Welcome back to Daily Thetha. Ntse re bla ka taba ya poverty mentality. Re nyako chipa gore na is it man-made? Gore na history yona e tswa ka you've seen on the insert. But ba go tla ba bla ka taba la gore a gona di opportunities ba fang tsona. A gona motho a ka kgetang poverty over having a flourishing and successful life. On the couch to discuss this conversation, we're joined by Mahlaku Mahapa, who is an academic researcher, and Spesihle Jele, who is the Secretary General of the BLF. Welcome to Daily Thetha.
Thank you very much.
Arthumeka wena aus Mahlaku. Poverty is man-made?
It's a very complex question.
Is it a social construct? Is it man-made? Where does it come from?
It's a social and systematic contrast. I mean, if you look at just the you've got people that are blaming the government, you've got people that are like nobody must create our own opportunities, you've got people that are based on education. So we can ask ourselves, is it a systematic creation, which it probably is, because as a sociologist, everything is a social construct.
Yes.
However, it's much more complex than that when we're talking about a poverty mindset, because what are we talking about? We're talking about economic poverty. Are we talking about your own individual humanist well-being? Are we talking about different senses of happiness? You know what I mean? That's where it becomes complex.
Okay, let's streamline it to economic poverty, but also your mentality as a person when you view the world in an economic space.
Well, obviously, economic poverty is the one that dominates, right? In research and on this table, it's what we insist on. But economics itself, my point is, it's complex.
Yeah.
Because how level the lady that was nabraya go the chicken water, she doesn't have a poverty mindset.
Yes.
How about the guy that was talking about recycling, he doesn't have a poverty mindset. Personally, my PhD equals Sekunda, which is a mining town, Mikuku, and I'm talking to sex workers there. They're the most empowered people I've ever spoken to.
Yes.
But when we're talking about economic poverty, and we think basadi ba khiyo abana dijo abana nyanya. But when you go to the ground and you talk to them, it's a complex situation. So even like economic poverty, we can't just blanket statement or share
Okay.
Especially, let me come to you, because singabantu abamnyama and abahlala endaweni njengasemalokishini nasemakhaya iningi lethu alithathi entweni, and umbuzo nengendlela isimo sesenzakala ngakhona ufind ukuthi sesizithola si-embrace i-poverty as if it's part of us, it's who we are. Kwenzakalani kuthina?
Okay, ngiyabonga kakhulu. Okubalekile kakhulu in the analysis of who's poor or who lives beyond the poverty line. It's black people.
Yes.
And why black people? Because we are dispossessed and after that we are excluded. So it is a manifestation of the political history that we come from.
Yeah.
So we are poor because we don't have land. Because land is a background for everything. So even if I want to farm, those who are farming in the rural areas of KZN and Free State, they are not poor, even though they don't live in the urban and suburb areas.
Yeah.
So what we lack currently is that we lack a government that can embrace the fact that they have the powers to change the situation.
So, especially if we give people land, does that automatically take away their poverty mentality?
It goes in two ways. For example, you give the land and then you empower the person who's going to work on the land. And we at most seem to make the fact that all the lands that are worked, whether it be property land, whether it be mining, whether it be farming, they are worked by us, the black people who are dispossessed. But we seem to think that us, black people, cannot work farms. But especially,
I'll come back on to that point that we Good cases, I'm not all the time, but there are cases whereby maybe farms were given to abantu abamnyama and they decided to sell those farms back to white people as well. Are we not, by doing isn't I know Guti not wonko umdomnyama does it, but leso simo leso aguya indlela mhlawumbe sibhebhekiseka ngayo i-poverty again, even when government is trying ukuthi assist.
It's a question also that goes back to the Zimbabwe land program. You get land, you work on the land, but you are not supported. Because remember, for you to be a supplier, you need people that you're going to supply for. So in a case whereby those whom you're supposed to supply for exclude you, then you become isolated and you end up not doing anything. So that's when that's where the decisiveness of the government comes in. Because you need a government that's going to force those people that you're supposed to supply to say you are going to be supplied by this particular farmer whom is black.
Okay, let's bring in Ausmahlaku back into the conversation. We saw on the insert, as you rightfully pointed out, and what she actually said is that so she is creating her own type of wealth, right? Now, the schooling system in this country, is it part of those factors that have created this poverty mentality? Because it does mimic a bit of the Industrial Revolution. We take kids, we put them in a school, they get a bell, it rings, they go to their stations, they study, it rings again, they get to eat, they move. It's almost like we're training these people to be employees.
Well, naturally, that's the point I was trying to make, that for some reason our definition of poverty is laden within our understanding of the Industrial Revolution and the dreams, the economic golden dreams that we're supposed to live towards. That's the definition that we use of poverty. Even when we talk about the poverty line, we're not even talking about the informal economy and the wealth that lies in there. We just want to take stats say and be like, okay, cool, SARS, well, now you don't give SARS more than 40% or whatever. But in terms of our schooling system, and unfortunately, as a PhD almost graduate that's been to UCT, Stellenbosch and Wits University, which are renowned to be the top universities in the country, we've got a basic education schooling system that trains you to be a worker. All you must do is get 35% now, according to this government that we praise, and then if you clear 65%, you get into university. If you make it through university, either way, you're not equipped with the thinking that you need to make it through the system. So it's not even just our basic education system, it's even our higher education system. Because then this poverty mindset that we're talking about, we are telling people, we're not saying to you, this is what entrepreneurship is. We've got the Department of Social Enterprise. And if you look at research, these guys return millions and millions and millions every month, every year. I mean, in Popo, there was about freaking more than 20 million that was returned back into the new fiscal year 2018. And you ask yourself to be like, even if we're talking land issues, even when we're talking education, we need to be talking independence. And that's the only way that the poverty mindset comes out of it.
But also, I'll come in with issue abanye bethu bayiphawula ukuthi even emasontweni where we go to we sifidwa ezinye zezinto ukuthi mawusuyibhekisisa ngathi ucabanga ukuthi yenye izinto engenza ukuthi ngigcine sengi accepta ipoverty as ukuthi iyona impilo yami. You'll find ukuthi there are churches abatshela ukuthi kunombuso ozayo, or if ungahlupheka it's okay ukuthi ungahlupheka la emhlabeni because so ushonile that's when uzobusa kabuhle. Is that the case?
The solution for that lies in black consciousness because Obab Steve Biko taught us to be proud of who we are. So once you lack that, immediately you will go and try and source your confidence somewhere else, where at some point it's abuse. For example, the example in Zion Church, they sought to abuse the mere fact that you don't confident because you, from your teachings, also from the location or wherever you live, you are not taught to be proud of who you are. So you go everywhere trying to source comfort and also confidence. So, and most of the people exploit that particular situation.
All right, sorry, we just want to quickly read the social media coming in from Sim Kulela. We as black people suffer from self-reliance, and that is colonial mentality. A black man must prepare to think less of himself at all levels. Let's decolonize the minds of our people and we will see the reality. And I think even there was a reggae artist that speaks about that mental slavery.
Yes, I think that was Bob Marley, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go to a break in. Must be a sikuba not double lechu. Nama calls wako so sort as well. Asam is sorting is after this. Welcome back to Daily Thetha. Sakuluma about poverty mentality acting in senza kanjani. How do we move from the situation esibhekene nayo njengamanje? Because if uhamba kwesinye isikhathi emalokishini uza ama excuses abantu, omunye umuntu okuthi excuse yami yazi vele la ngiphuma khona ngiphuma kuphi, but kuthiwa kunabantu abasuka kuleyo ndawo bakwazile ukuthi baphile ingqondo impilo engconywana. Ethi omunye it's because of the attitude yaloyo muntu nomqondo wakhe. We want to come back to you. We do have Mbali Hame from Black House Collectives. Ukuthi Mbali ibaluleke ngani attitude nomqondo womuntu ekuthenini imsuse from la kwi-poverty athi ubekuyona to a next step of impilo?
I think for me, attitude is influenced by your surroundings, like your social structure, what it offers you, right? So if condition lapho phuma khona nalapho ovuka khona njalo ofunda khona, it kind of maintains that, poverty. So you don't have a reference that kind of shows you a different imagination and the tangibility of, can I just finish this, of you getting out of that. So I think also we need to look into creating imaginations within where we are from for us to break out of that. So mentality does not just come on TV, because when we watch TV at the same time, these things are not tangible enough for us and they don't reflect our surroundings. So it becomes important for us to change our mentality when we can, experience it and immediately when you wake up, when you confront your day, where you're from, and so it starts off. It's a communal thing more than just an individualistic thing. Ukuthi abantu kumele ba-change sisonke then change umuntu oyi-one.
Angazi ukuthi ngathini, but because I come from Enseleni endaweni poverty enkulu ngasonke isikhathi. For me, it took a couple of people ukuthi ngibabone on TV, and a few years later I met those people because I said I want to live like them, I want to speak like them, I want to do things like them. So I'm thinking if you're saying ukuthi uvuka endaweni where you don't see izinto as positive, I think that's a motivation enough, because right now you cannot tell me about poverty because I know poverty. You don't have to preach or tell me anything about yona because ngiphuma kuyona and I've moved away from it. So when you say that, I think it's debatable. I hear you, but I think
because then there are communities that are very isolated, and some of these opportunities, like for example, maybe you might have had an opportunity to come to Joburg or meet these people, but it's so you are isolated. You belong in an isolated world that does not even take you, close to that. Hence, I said like some things it's just imagination and they're not tangible. And some people don't even exist physically outside the township lifestyle because Kumbuluti township still maintains its structure lebe akele like because it was built to keep people concentrated in a certain idea, in a certain movement of life, and it still carries that even today after 24 years of democracy. So it becomes very challenging for you to imagine. So I see you on TV, I'm like, oh, he looks like me, he speaks like me, and you testify that you come from poverty. But also it becomes a problem for me to even imagine how I can reach you, because now you look, I see you on this television screen that I don't even know ukuthi ngifika kanjani lapho ngizocela bani ngifonela bani.
Maybe let's bring in Kosi Jan. Please can you just pass her the mic and get an understanding here, because what I'm hearing you Mbali we explain a situation. Nna ke tswa Bushbuck Ridge go godile go sena cinema bushi. I only started seeing a cinema when I moved to Nelspruit. It's a different conversation, right? But let's talk a little bit about mentality and the thinking, because I feel Kosi that yes you are growing up in poverty, but is there a way for us to change the mentality of a child even growing up in poverty, not hearing dipalabolo like go get a job my child so that you don't die poor? Can we change that possibly in a poverty stricken house?
We can, and I think our deepest poverty, and I do not in any way undermine financial poverty that a lot of people are born into. But I think our biggest problem is the poverty that we create over and above that by how we condition ourselves to take a condition to be a reflection of you. So if you say, for me, poverty mentality yini ingqondo yokuthi just because I don't have, or just because ngiku situation ethile, I take that to be a definition of me. And I think perhaps this is some of the challenges is where language fails us in a sense, because in English I can separate the two. I can say there's a difference between I have or I don't have something, but that does not mean it is me. It is not I am. Whereas if ngizoyisho ngesizulu or ngesud haki wabona kia and then it sounds like it is about me when it's not about me. It is a situation that I'm in. And that then impoverishes our thinking about ourselves and about our possibilities, but also how we as ourselves are resources. For getting out of that. This thing of waiting for the Messiah to come down from somewhere, it's not going to happen. We've got to get out of that. It's the same thing as Ikundwani, the one that puts the tooth fairy and the Father Christmas and that Messiah. They're never going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry to burst that bubble, seriously. But it's not going to happen. And unless and until our poverty mentality changes in significant ways,
I believe. Let's just quickly go to a caller in Pulugwana. Who do we have in Pulugwana? It's Tsepiso.
Hi.
How are you, Tsepiso?
I'm okay. How are you?
Yes, we're talking poverty mentality. What's your take out of this?
Okay, now I think about this whole poverty mentality thing. It's something that we cause onto ourselves. I mean, if there's only whoopee, sweetie, and water, and I'm like so hungry. Don't you think I shouldn't just sit and cry about not having food. Actually, I should just think about that shoot right. Because now if we are going to sit here and be complaining about how the government is not taking care of us, how we come from rural communities where we are so isolated, we are not going to go anywhere in life. If I'm from a rural area and we are suffering, why don't I think of a way to get out of that rural area? There are many people who come from Boras Kukune. Where are they today? They are up there. But we can MPs and they. Like, let's look at old Nicolette. She's from Bukta Creek. But then where is she today? We're looking at her motive.
Sentin, man.
If we also have I doubt there's a lot of people who ask her, how did you make it?
Okay.
Only here it's rumors of who did you sleep with? Those are the kind of things that are taking us down as black people. We shouldn't blame anyone. Let's make this thing happen for ourselves.
Thank you so much,
Thetha. So
let's perhaps come back to the couch and the opportunities. Even on the inside, the opportunities. The opportunities.
I mean, let me tell you an interesting story. There's a friend of mine, Busi, and she's one of the few construction managers. So she's made it in life. Ucha Alex, she's dealing with this integrated human settlements. You know, the government is trying to restructure this program, and we're talking about land appropriation. In Alex, she went and she lived Karamukuku for a day, and she was absolutely traumatized. She's like, oh my God, people, how do you live like this? And then she went, and then in the interviews, no, what if we get you guys houses? And the first thing they said is, what do you mean? Because you're going to give me an RDP, but you're displacing me to begin with. Because now they have created their own local economy, and that's where their opportunities come from. So how they sustain themselves, where they have small gardens or my neighbor or whatever, there's a community that by the time you say we're giving you a better life, we're going to give you RDPs, you're displacing local economic opportunities that were self-created in that particular space. So, but they're talking about opportunity as if the government must give me work, and that's what we are actually battling with. That's why the world is arguing against our current education system. That's why the land issue is a very difficult issue.
You know, because of time we have to go to a break here, but as well, and now because you can comment says good to ulagala continue about this poverty mentality that just coming out. Somebody break it.
If you are just joining us, we are talking about the poverty mentality that is plaguing us as South Africans. But more specifically, how do we change this poverty mentality? Is there a turn in this wheel that we are in currently? On the couch, we're joined by Kosi Gianni, who is a clinical psychologist, and Isaac Mavos, who's a speaker and a facilitator. And I just want to tell you guys a little bit of a story. So I read that there was a study that was done in a little town in Canada called Dolphin. And basically what they did in Dolphin is that they gave everybody money. It was a 4-year experiment. They gave everybody money, and these people had money, and they all lived above, the poverty line. Then a new government came in, took away that money, and people now became literally broke and poor. But they were talking about the difference in the way people conducted themselves when they had money and when they were poor. When they had money, they lived well. They went to the gym. They spent time. Why is it that we often find that even when we've got this poverty mentality, even our decision making is a bit more different than those who actually have?
I guess it's part of it is that we don't believe that we deserve certain things, and part of it is thinking ukuthi izinto ezinje ezabantu abasokuphela, and fortunately I was fortunate enough ngisebenze for 5 years, and one of the challenges that I experienced emakhaya is that when we sit here, one of the comments was abantu basemakhaya they're better off because they are able to live on the land and so on. And yet you find when you're there, they think the definition of success is being able to go a spa or you're taking when there is land that is available, when we can grow stuff, So part of the problem is always the hand that's always outstretched and begging and hoping somebody is going to lend something on the hand.
Palm,
And also if you look at the government, there is nothing in the current government. They operate on the same poverty mentality. And part of my PhD work is look at looking at black psychological empowerment. How do we get ourselves out of this? Because nobody else is going to do it for us if we don't do it ourselves. But if you look at the government, I asked the question, a Department of Social Development. What is developmental about Department of Social Development?
About grants.
What in a grant is going to develop anybody? We talk about black economic empowerment, and if you look at colonization and we look at apartheid, those were, at the heart of it, it was psychological warfare. The finances are just a symptom. And if we don't deal with it internally, the war is lost and won up here. This is not for hairstyles. It's not for hairstyles. We've got to use this thing for ourselves and ask ourselves the pertinent question. People think ukuthi to strive, ukusebenza, ukuphokopela for things is a struggle. It's not a struggle. We are here to work. We're not here to bask in the sun, right? But we think we are victims when we have to do that. People are comfortable when you could be doing something.
Come on.
Where's that going to get you?
Speaking about that as well, I think I did tweeted something along those lines in the morning that sometimes for uguba rich or ube lempilo oifunayo, you feel as if mawusahlala mhlawumbe elokishini or kwezinye indawo abantu end up finding things abazokusukela bakunuke ngazo kuze kuthiwa mhlawumbe hayi umbona nje wathakatha umbona nje igazi labantu yes igazi labantu umbona. Do we find ourselves to that position where we don't want to overachieve because we feel like we need to explain ourselves to people ukuthi ukuthole kanjani ukuthi
we end up owning poverty as though it's something that belongs to us.
Yes.
Mawungenayo you are right as umuntu omnyama, which is the part of that poverty mentality yona ngokwayo, because then uzenza ngcono as if there's something wrong ngokuba ngcono. Siyafuna ukuba ngcono but yet we don't want to do what it takes ukuba ngcono.
Bathi uphakeme so also uphakeme abafuna ukunyuka nawe bathi kodwa uphakeme. Isaac,
am I not black enough if I'm not poor?
No, that's not really true. It should, you see, the problem when we bring color to things, this is where we lose it. Because it's not about being black, it's not about being white, it's just based on being a human being. So before poverty or black or white, there must be a human being. And then when that comes in, then we need to be looking to saying, okay, there are those who have and there are have-nots. So what has been happening? Then we find out that there was a construct of some sort that has been happening. And that is why we have either the BEE type of thing is and all this stuff. So it is the mindset type of thing. And then what we need to be looking at is to saying, okay, what has happened into creating all this? Now, when we look at the issue, for instance, if we look at apartheid back, it was constantly reminding a black person that you are not good enough to be there. You need to serve somebody else. Now, a white person is not doing anything because it has been inculcated so deep within ourselves that we're doing it ourselves. And that is why we find, even when somebody is now having a 50-cent nyana, we're thinking, no, agalali lo. Yes, simply because it's been so deep. So what we need to do is to go back. And this is also where the social development needs to come in, to say, how do we then empower the mind? How do we empower people to think in a different way, to see themselves not as poor where they are, but as it's just a circumstance that it's temporary. I can just get out of it. If I want to be on TV, by golly, you can't be on TV. So it is basically that. So we cannot own these things, but we need to be sitting down and saying, okay, how do we then disown it?
But is it not easy to disown it when you're not necessarily in the poverty? You know, it's easy for people to sit on the outside and say, Chinchani mkondo wenu, you know, when they've got a meal every single day. You know what, Mbali? But when I don't have a meal every single day and I don't know how to get myself out of the poverty, and then here comes Mbali and says to me, change your mind, change your mindset. I mean, how do we fix that?
Because it's a condition, you know. I like the tweet that you read earlier about, you know, black people should start decolonizing their mind in order for them to move forward. This is a condition that we've carried out throughout, you know, and if we start today in changing how we think, in learning about, for example, the land issue, what it means to us, and what could it mean for us to get the land back, you know, just learning these basic things so that we can progress and think outside what the colonial systems have built, you know, because we continue becoming slaves, we continue seeking for employment instead of looking to being seeking to be employers instead of, you know. So I think it starts with, you know, us going back to learn about, to unlearn the a condition, because it's a condition more than anything that exists in the psyche. And if we try to break out of that, then we can, I think it's possible for us to go forward.
A quick one to this course before we go to a break in. You look at izinto ezenzakala ngakhona, social development to throw in some grant there, and some people will be given a position on based on the color and everything. Don't you think, Uguti, we should look beyond money, throwing money, but there's so much thing that need to be done, especially in Mkondweni Band, so that we can, then after that, those people can be given such money.
But that's exactly my point. Uguti, it's cherry picking, you know, it's populist, and political groupings will score points on the cheapest, easiest things to get wins that they exploit, because part of the problem with being in that position is that you are everybody's a toy that people can use to benefit themselves to no end. At one point it was apartheid. Now it's a different form of. Previously we spoke about the disadvantaged. Now we're talking about the disabled. We treat people as if they are not capable of doing things for themselves. What we don't call ourselves to order. You know, one of the things like. And ask yourself the question, what is it that you need to do in order to get what you want? Instead of sitting there and crying and expecting someone to save you from yourself. When you come from a difficult situation, you've got to focus on solutions. It's the hardest thing to do, but it's the only thing that will get you out of it.
Amen.
Asabense break in after this.
Welcome back to Daily Thetha. We have extensively spoken about the poverty mentality. Now I think we're focusing more on the solutions. But before we come back to you, Kini, there we've got Tia Mokoza saying, we as Africans, we make poverty a big issue while it's not. You tell a person that at the municipality of Tshwane, they want people to work and they say, we don't want such work. Why
no, asas why.
How are you, my darling? We've got Nomfundo. Nomfundo, you grew up in a very well-off family, right? Right. We'll get into a little bit of that conversation, but we also have Janine Ward, and you're going to give us a little bit about, you know, how you guys are putting a spotlight on poverty and finding those kind of solutions. Awesome stuff. Kini, let's come back to you with the audience, and then we'll come back to the couch.
Let's quickly go to the guy on the other side. Ukhulele family whereby in a rich family, but gohamba ngezinto ke zangahamba ngendlela yakhona, and then now, how do you balance from growing up rich and then ube poor as you go ngempilo? Can you just quickly tell us about that, brother?
Okay, thank you. I call it my rich mindset and my poor mindset.
Okay.
Okay. Back home, I come from Congo. Sorry. Back home in Congo, I came to South Africa in 2002, but back home in Congo, I come from a very wealthy family where we had 4 cars and people working for us till the war happened, right? So we came in South Africa, that's where I realized how it feels to be poor. Okay, and I have what we call the poor mindset. The poor mindset is waking up every day in the morning and you have no idea what's happening next. So what you do is you look around people and you see the wealthy people and you realize, okay, these people, they are wealthy and they have money, and now you can see the difference. You can tell the difference. Say, oh, this is how the poor people behave. And this is what I realized.
Like a quick one, in few words, what did that taught you as a person?
It taught me that being poor, it's all about in your mindset. It's what you decide within yourself. You see, being poor is only 2 things. Blame, you blaming people, and you being lazy. You understand? And if you are poor, the only thing you're going to do, you're going to blame the next person. You're going to say it's the government or it's this. But if you look at yourself, you need to understand first, what is poor? Is my mind is poor or is my financial life that is poor?
Okay, quick one before we go to the couch. Wanga, do you agree?
I agree, Ane, but I think it also starts with how you spend what you have, Ane. The little that you have. From these little jobs that we have. We want to be Sister Petina, as opposed to investing every little cent to build an empire.
Okay. All right. Janine, let's come back to you and ask you maybe, what is the difference between the person who's got the poor mentality, the poverty mentality, and somebody who doesn't have it? What have you seen from the work that you guys have done?
I think for me, thanks for this opportunity. I think for me, as you were saying earlier, it's up here.
Okay.
It's the battle of the mind. And I think, I mean, I've got this lovely cartoon which I use. I don't know if the camera can pick that up. Charlie Brown and Snoopy.
Just show it there. Yes. It says, one day we will die, Snoopy, but every other day we will live. Ah, one day we'll die, Snoopy.
Yes,
okay.
You can either have that mentality where every morning you wake up and say, oh, today I'm going to die.
Yes.
Or you could say, I mean, there's only that one day in your life when you will die. Every other day you have opportunity.
All right.
So I think we need to bring in this new mentality in South Africa, using what we use in our work sphere is something called ABCD, asset-based, citizen-led development. And it's exactly where you look at what other assets do I have.
Yes.
Don't only focus on the money, but there's so many other assets that we have in community, up here, in our relationships with other people. We've got sunshine, we've got land, we've got so much. And if people learn to focus
I've got sunshine,
on that,
but I've got hunger.
No, we don't have that.
Yes, but if you have a piece of land and you've got rain, you can grow vegetables.
Okay.
But it's getting people to look at that different way of thinking.
Yes.
And that's what Poverty Stoplight does. Is it's a self-diagnosis tool which shows people a way of looking at all the aspects of poverty. 6 different dimensions of life: housing, money, education, culture, community, and in myself, my own self-motivation.
All right.
And it helps people to be able to have a look at their life and say, here's where I'm doing well, and here's where I may need to improve, and giving them that different way of saying, it's in my hands. Ginako. It's in my hands. I need to make that change.
All right. Nomfundo,
No, it's not even like that.
Yeah.
You know what? Every time people speak about this whole poverty thing, for me, it's always been, it is a mentality. Like, we need to accept that it is a mentality. Because I've seen, my parents grew up in a rural area like everyone else.
Yeah.
But they took it upon themselves that, okay, you know what, I'm tired of this life. Like, I don't want to live like this anymore.
Yes.
My father started out working at a bank. At the age of 19, he walked to a bank and he was like, okay, let me go to the bank and see what I can find.
Yeah.
Same thing with my mother. It's not that they had opportunities that some other person has or does not have. And from there, once they acquired whatever they did acquire, it wasn't that, okay, now I've got money, I can do whatever I want, but it was, how do I spend my money?
Yes.
So instead of, you see, there's this thing that we do as black people. Uguti, ngitholi mali. Sengikhona 2,000 rand. What's in your vuli account Edgar's? What's in your vuli account Yeah, but what's in your vuli account gupi gupi? And then it starts out as, okay, 5 accounts and ngikhoka 100 rand to each account. But in the end, umayloki khuphuka imali sengikhoka 500 rand to 5 different accounts and angisena mali kodwa imali bikhona, but because of the ways that I trapped myself, I can no longer pay for anything.
I'm keen to ask you a very question. There's this assumption that bana who come from these well-off families are taught differently from bana ba golang in a poor family. Do you think there is that distinction? Do you think it's the way? Because sometimes you hear in a family your mother will say, "Iskolo take bophelo." You know, do you think we are taught differently?
No, not at all, because I see my parents every day watch the way they spend. I see them tell me I should be careful of how I spend money. That's just speaking on a money basis. But even isn't efana njengobuntu and respect, we're still taught the same things that people that consider themselves.
But your relationship with money, how they teach you, what they teach you about money, do you think it's different from what other kids are taught at home?
I think it depends on the family, because on my personal experience, I'm still taught to value it as much as the next person does, because I don't know if it's going to be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think abazali bakho, they're doing something enhle kakhulu ukuthi bafundise abantwana about money as well, because today you find that kunabantwana not from rich families, but you'll find abakwazi accept umama athi no, we don't have money, and abazali they have that thing which they feel guilty for telling umntwana ukuthi we cannot afford that, maybe not now, but we can also afford it now. Of course, in closing, how important is it for analysts?
I think it's important. I remember when I was a kid, umamami wathi if ngikuthengela ama gloves were leather, what are you going to buy yourself when you work? So what are you going to aspire to? That because there's no other gloves other than leather. It's not like there's gold or diamond which you can aspire to. If I buy you that now, when uzozenzelani, you know. So, and one of the things we must cultivate ingqondo yokuba conscious of ourselves and ask ourselves ukuthi mina ngizalelwe zola, mina I'm very proud ngumntwana sezola Mzansi sekasi ngikhula ngihlala phansi kwetafula ngilala phansi kwetafula ngifunde edeskini C3 elokishini sifunda phansi kwesihlahla. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with not having shoes. We're not born with these things. You know, it's about working towards decisions I made. There are decisions I made which angifuna ukuba nomntwana. Angifuna things I can't that are not gonna build me.
Because of isikhathi besilivalo phela namhlanje. Siyabonga kakhulu nabo bonke abantu abathathe inxexheba nalabo bakhona nje e-studio as well bagibela ngemali yabo beza la kwi-Daily Thetha. Siyabonga.